My Lords, it's a tremendous pleasure to follow the noble Baroness Hamilton-Kings-Heath, and I deeply respect what she said here today, and I deeply respect the course she has been through in her life. She is to be commended for it. Nevertheless, my Lords, as far as this bill is concerned, I consider it an insidious little bill, because kind and loving and caring parents could get unlimited fines for looking after the interests of their young children. And of course, prison could await them if they refuse to pay the fine and are in contempt of court. So, my Lords, a 14-year-old girl tells her mother that she wants to be a boy, and her mother says, oh, she should wait till she's a bit older, because she's been a girl for 14 years, and that remaining a girl for a few more years is the best thing to do. The girl tells her teacher, and next second the police are at the mother's door, and she is charged under Section 2 for making the assumption that being a girl is preferable, and under 2B that she's repressed her daughter's expression of gender identity. Then there's a 10-year-old boy who tells his dad that he wants to be a girl, and the school have said that he can get puberty blockers. His father says if he does that, he'll be chemically castrated and never have children, and he should not do it. The father discusses it with him in detail, but the boy, egged on by schoolmates, tells his teachers, and the next minute that father is also prosecuted. My Lords, unamended, this is the sort of sick society that this bill would bring about. And what's the problem the bill is trying to fix? I understand that in the United States there have been, or there are, some religious nutters who've tried to convert people from one sexual orientation to another and exorcise their so-called demons. That is as futile as it is misguided and utterly wrong. But that is not happening here. There's not a credible reported incident of anyone doing that in recent times in this country. There's a case quoted of a woman being strapped to a chair in a psychiatric hospital and given electric shock treatment to discourage her from having thoughts and feelings about other women. But that was way back in 1964, when thousands of people had their brains fried by psychiatrists hoping to change some behaviour they considered abnormal. All we have, my Lords, are bogus, self-selecting surveys dating back years of a handful of people saying that they felt they were getting conversion therapy, when in many cases no one even had said a word to them. But of course, my Lords, that is not the full story. Since we've had the most despicable conversion therapy foisted on our children and sanctioned by the NHS, and I'm referring to the gross abuses inflicted on children by the Tavistock Clinic and GIDS. Perhaps it was scrapping the words in the Hippocratic Oath, "First do no harm," that led to doctors neutering thousands of children. Or they were captured by the ideologues of the transgender cult, led by the discredited organisation Mermaids, which advocates cruel breast binding of girls. And of course, that is under investigation just now by the Charity Commission following safeguarding allegations. I exempt the courageous whistleblowers at the Tavistock who exposed this scandal and were vilified for it. My Lords, only cult capture by the trans zealots can explain why 138 children were referred in 2010 for genuine gender dysphoria, but that had rocketed from 138 to 3,585 in 2021, as the fad for converting children from one sex to another took hold. But of course, those poor kids have not been converted from one sex to another. Boys have been chemically castrated, but they will never be women. Girls have been put on the drug Lupron, and some have had double mastectomies, but they'll never be men. These children will never have children of their own, and they're stuck in a sex limbo, neutered by doctors who should have given them proper counselling and advice, but instead put them on a fast track to destroying their sex. The CAS interim report has exposed what was utterly wrong with this Tavistock and GIDS, because they made an assumption that one gender was preferable to another, and with the intended purpose of attempting to change a person's gender identity. Does that sound familiar, my Lords? Because that's exactly what this bill is seeking to do. So the abuses which were done to children at the Tavistock, which CAS criticised, would be the same abuses which this bill would legalise. If we could make this bill retrospective and prosecute all those at the Tavistock who did this to little children, then I'd be the first to vote for it. A principal criticism of the abuses at the Tavistock were that no proper counselling or psychiatric advice was given. It was all peremptory and rushed, but if this bill becomes law, then anyone, parents, doctors, psychiatrists, teachers, seeking to give proper advice would be guilty of an offence. That's why, my Lords, I call this an insidious little bill, and it should never reach the statute book.